everything that I've worked on, whether it is a single image or a feature film or a documentary, they've all started off with just these little ideas that we've had to try and work out. And then you try to see if there's a kind of structure and how feasible those structures are and what would you need to do. Now, again, the other thing is that quite often when you plan a lot of stuff, what you end up with is a compromise. It never quite works out the way you hoped. But until you've set up those initial ideas and then started to work through the processes and procedures, you don't know whether you're going to achieve it or not. And the main thing is to try and minimize all the risks that you're going to have. And I know that we've already been talked about recently with a conversation that I think you had with a colleague, Gavin, that they were saying, well, why aren't you starting already? Why aren't you just going? Well, at this particular point in time, we know that there are projects out there that we could take on board, but we need to see whether or not they're feasible enough to fit into our model. And just because somebody's got a project and it all looks as though it's going to be hunky-dory doesn't necessarily mean it will fit into what we want to do. And what we need to do is to break that project down to see whether it could feasibly work within our particular way of our particular program. Now, I know from experience of working with others, directors, cameramen, producers, actors, and I should be saying camera persons, basically there can be all sorts of different characteristics or personality types, and they may not fit into our model just because their aspirations are such that they want to do certain things in a certain way. And if they're not able to collaborate with us, there's no way we could actually work on that project. And those are things that we need to be conscious of, because if we take up a project and those people go off in another direction, that could actually just scupper what we're doing. And I've already experienced that on a project or two in the past, where what we thought was the expectations of the project wasn't being met, and all of a sudden the producer went off and did something differently without informing us, and it scuppered the project that I was working on. We don't want to be there. We want to make sure that when we start a project, we finish a project, we make sure it does what it needs to do for the students that we want to work with, so that they can successfully achieve either a degree or a master's degree. We also want to make sure that we have an avenue for those films to go somewhere, so that they could also bring back another kind of revenue back, so that we can create this model that works.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.